So some of the concerns you have is, how do I maintain quality while I'm growing? How do I enhance systems and process? Externally, you're looking at competitors. They're likely to enter the market. Anytime you have someone succeeding, replication occurs. And that's part of what you're dealing with. So the financing you're usually looking for at that stage is with some kind of investor. Maybe venture capital. It could again be philanthropy capital. It could be diaspora investors. You could be reinvesting your own earnings. But you're getting into that stage where now you can start to leverage what you've already built in your equity and your business. And this might be the phase where you can start to approach institutional funding. When you're a mature business, your business is characterized by having a firm operation that's profitable and has a consistent customer base. Your staffing levels are stable, they're mature, they've been hired to perform processes, and you're starting to slow growth. Some of the challenges would be entry of competitors. Do you want to continue to grow your business? Are you satisfied defending your market position, or would you want to explore new markets? So you continue to provide quality services to your current customer base. Now, in this stage, typically your financing is coming through more conservative sources like bank loans, private equity. It could again be other investors. You could be reinvesting your earnings. So the reason I went through this was to kind of set the stage for the next conversation, which is about unlocking capital types. I'm going to turn it over to the moderator, Mr. Thierry Mailloux. Is that right? No, I blew it, didn't I? No. Who's going to introduce the panelists, and then we'll have a conversation.
Thank you, Lee. I'm Thierry Mailloux. I'm a consultant for IFAD. IFAD stands for International Fund for Agricultural Development. It's a UN agency specialized in rural development, and we are working for the moment with BID Network and also with the assistance of Shuraako in developing a project for developing micro-enterprises through fundings coming from the diaspora. On the panel today, we have several representatives of different financial institutions that are more or less linked in different stages of the business development. We have first Ms. Fadoumo Aline. She is the founder and chairwoman of Kaaba Microfinance Institutions, well-known institution in Somalia. She is the driving force behind the creation of Kaaba's parent organization, which is called Doses of Hope, which was founded in the Netherlands in 1997 and has been operating in Somaliland since 1999. Kaaba Microfinance Institutions is the longest serving microfinance institution in Somaliland. It's a financial service provider that aims at strengthening the economic base of the low-income women and youth in Somaliland through loans and saving services. We have also Mr. Lee Sorensen from Arsenault Family Foundation. So it's another hat. He has two hats, but this one today is or this afternoon is for Arsenault Family Foundation. He is the director of Shuraako, and he has an experience of entrepreneurs more than 25 years as an executive business experience, creating healthcare, mental health and education companies. He is also on the advisory board of several organizations and is an explorer, passionate explorer of the relationship between peace, business, governance, and human well-being. Mr. Justin Sykes is the director of micro-enterprise Silatech. He designs, finances, deploys large-scale youth enterprise programming in the MENA region, including Somalia. These programs focus on the delivery of holistic financial and non-financial support services to young entrepreneurs to help them conceive, start, and grow micro-businesses. Mr. Ibrahim Yusuf is the Executive Director of the Horn of Africa Business Association.
Ibrahim Yusuf is not here.
Ah, okay.
Excuse me.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Liban Egal is the founder and chairman of the first Somali bank, but he will also act today as a representative of the diaspora investors. He's 45 years old, entrepreneur, financier, and business developer with a passion and expertise in fusing ideas and finance to develop success businesses. Over the past 20 years, he has raised over $7 million and successfully developed a dozen $1 million turnover businesses, both in the US and now in Somalia. As for the first Somali bank, the bank offers investment banking, wealth management, and commercial, retail, and personal banking services. We have also Mr. Hassan Yusuf, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the International Bank of Somalia, which began operations in 2014. It's headquartered in Mogadishu, and IBS, International Bank of Somalia, is a global investment and commercial bank with an entirely Sharia-compliant portfolio of products and services. He undertakes retail and corporate banking activities and deals with microfinance, Hard Hassan, and community finance activities. And we have also, last but not least, Mr. Pedro Tigre de Vasconcelos, who is from IFAD also, and he is the manager of the financing facility for remittances. He is the program coordinator, and he will also explain more in details what's the program of the financing facility for remittances. To start with, I would like in the importance or in the graduation process of the different investment possibilities. Someone who wants to start a business or develop a business, a micro one, generally goes to the microfinance institutions, represented by the Kaaba Microfinance. And first, you have more than basically around 20 years of experience in microfinance. Can you describe the benefits and the concept of the microfinance for the low-income groups? And is it an appropriate vehicle for economic development and also for poverty alleviation?
Thank you very much. I will come back to you. Thank you very much. I will come back to your question. But before I do, I will little bit like this.
That's good.
Thank you very much. I will come back to your question, but before I do that, I would like to give a quick brief information about Kaaba Microfinance and its parent foundation called Doses of Hope Foundation. It's a bit like AFF and Shuraako. So Doses of Hope is, let me say, Kaaba Microfinance is a project of Doses of Hope Foundation. We have started Kaaba in 1999. At that time, it was not a microfinance institution. It was one of the projects of Doses of Hope. So we started with 150 women in 1999, and now it has served a little bit over 14,000 direct beneficiaries. That means it established or expanded 14,000 businesses. And it was transformed into a fully fledged microfinance institution in 2008, and also we have converted the conventional microfinance to the Islamic mode of finance in 2008. About also Doses of Hope Foundation. Its core business is the microfinance and youth. So, for example, now we are starting a Somali youth enterprise fund sitting in Kaba's portfolio. It's a little bit over $500,000, and specifically it's for youth. We are partners with Shuraako and Silatech and Kiva and AFF, yes. So, well, the most easiest way I can describe Doses of Hope and Kaba is, for instance, Doses of Hope gives the technical training, the financial literacy, and all this to the youth or to the women, because our focus, our target group, 80% are women and youth. So, on one hand, Doses of Hope is giving the training or education that's needed, and then it's linking to Kaba microfinance so that the youth or the women can apply for a loan for the specific skill they have learned. So, to the best of my knowledge, Doses of Hope and Kaba are the only organizations that can combine both. Yeah. That is, what else am I forgetting? Yeah. Anyway, what I would like also, before I come back to the question, maybe today there are a lot of many entrepreneurs who are starting their businesses. What I would like to tell them is that it is not the capital that one has to focus, because capital is the last thing you have to think about. It is the person, or if you have a plan, yeah, you have to work on the plan, and then you will know how much you need capital. So this is my advice as a veteran on these things. I will come back to your question finally. Well, simply put, microfinance makes people to create productive businesses. With microfinance, people can move from the day-to-day survival to the planning their future. With microfinance, people can stride towards breaking the vicious cycle of vulnerability and hopelessness. I use here, you have to recognize this, it's very important. I haven't used breaking the vicious cycle of poverty. That's what's always, you see it written, because we define poverty in a different way. If the person has got a plan, that person, even if he doesn't have a penny, that person is not poor, just waiting for an opportunity. So one of Kaba's successes is that one of why Kaba succeeded in such a short time, 17 years, is that we don't see our clients as poor, you know, and that gives them how do you say, that increases their, boosts their self-esteem, yes, and confidence, and they feel you can do it. And another success why we succeeded in this whole thing is that Kaba's success depends, Kaba sees if the businesses that it gave access finance succeeds, then Kaba also succeed. If not, Kaba sees that it's not fulfilling its mission or vision. So these two are the main pillars of Kaba's success. Yes, it is a vehicle for economic development and poverty alleviation. When I remember when we started in 1999, all the financial institutions were destroyed. So if the woman even wants to sell a kilo of tomato there, and she needs $100, she couldn't get it. And we did not wake up one morning and say, oh, let's start microfinance. It came from the people that we are working for. It came from the beneficiaries. They said, we don't want handouts. We can work. We need seed money. And those that we have accessed finance in 1999, they started with $150. Now they have sort of small, medium businesses. So yes, it's a vehicle. Sorry, maybe I'm taking a lot of time. How many minutes? Not written here.
Just an additional question. What have been the changes you have seen since you have started? It was working.
It's on.
Now it's on. An additional question, what have been the changes you have seen in the microfinance sector since you have started in 1999, and the different type of products, the different type of actors and players you have seen in this sector?
Oh, a lot of change. The main one that time, people could not, especially I'm talking of our clients or in general, they couldn't differentiate between a grant and a loan. Yeah, so it was very difficult for them that we are saying that we are giving you loan when the whole, when their finance situation was really pretty bad. They were thinking, you know, it would have been easier to help them with grants so that they can immediately start their businesses. As I said, we are now, at that time, we're doing the conventional microfinance, and we were charging, service charge, and that was seen as a bit contradiction to the Islam river thing. So that also has been solved. There are a lot of actors and players now. Yes, so I mean, donors or development aid agencies hesitated about microfinance that time because they were saying, oh, how can they pay? Are they bankable? You know, people who lost everything. And yeah, but now they are really open, and that they see it as a vehicle, and it changed a lot.
And what is the repayment rate you have on your loans?
Now it's 98%.
Bravo.
Yes, for the last, I think, 8, 9 years or 10 years. But yes, at the beginning, it was not like that. Mm-hmm. We came a long way. Now all instruments are in place, and we are zero tolerance for delinquency. I mean, in microfinance, if your repayment rate is actually less than 95% or 90%, you don't have a business.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Continuing the way of financing, we have now two representatives from philanthropy capital institutions, Lee and Justin. For me, philanthropy capital has always been assimilated as a grant. How is it going to change? Is it changing the perception of the people? Is it changing? And the perception of this philanthropic institution, is it also changing in the way of financing the business or providing financial assistance to the businesses?
So yeah, I think it's changing. First of all, so for clarification for the audience, affiliated with the One Earth Future Foundation, the founder has a separate family foundation called the Arsenault Family Foundation. That's a fund that just does grant making. So let me answer your question on behalf of the foundation. What they have seen and decided was, rather than putting out grants, they wanted to put out loans. Mm-hmm. And there are forms of charitable lending that can occur called PRI loans, program-related investments or mission-related investments. So we aligned ourselves, Shuraako, with the Arsenault Family Foundation as a seed fund to build a portfolio. So in a somewhat similar way, only on larger scale loans, we've done something like what Kaba has done. So we now have a portfolio you can see on our website that has a little over 94% repayment rate, actually. And we have about 38 investments. So we've seen it change from grant making to mission-related investment. And the reason why we aligned with Shuraako is what's happening here today, we think, is catalyzing. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll just leave it at that. And Justin.
Sure. And I think I'd agree with that the landscape's changing, that the types of financial tools that we're able to deploy to support access to finance are changing and moving beyond grants. Within grants themselves, looking at grants that are more complex or more catalytic in their impact rather than just a straight shot to provide funds to an entrepreneur. As well as Lee's mentioned, impact investment lending, impact investment equity. So the landscape's very much changing, and there's opportunities for financial innovation that I think we haven't seen previously.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are the typical businesses and the stage of development of those businesses that can apply and that can benefit from philanthropic capital, whether now?
I think from my perspective, and I'm going to speak about these catalytic grants. Mm-hmm. So just for clarification, Solitech is a social initiative which supports financing young entrepreneurs in the region. But we don't finance directly. We work through intermediary organizations, primarily microfinance institutions. And from our perspective, we do offer loans to financial institutions. We offer debt, we offer equity. But today I want to talk about these complex grants. And I think from my perspective, as I said, direct grants to entrepreneurs have been ubiquitous, and I think have been detrimental to the effective functioning of a viable entrepreneurship ecosystem. That they can be distorting, and they can actually be counterproductive in terms of the development of viable financial institutions such as Kaba and others. Mm-hmm. So our work in this space has been beyond the debt and the equity, is to explore how grants can actually enhance the effectiveness of the financial sector when it comes to financing entrepreneurs, particularly when it comes to higher risk cohorts, such as startup businesses or youth, where the financial institutions are risk averse. Mm-hmm. And I could just give you a couple of examples of these types of models. We see three models of what we call complex grants. All are delivered via financial institutions mm-hmm. to better help them finance enterprises with lower risk and at greater scale. One would be providing grants that protect investor capital. Example, guarantees, where we can provide institutional guarantees for third-party investors to invest in financial institutions. Partial portfolio guarantees, where we can actually unlock existing capital within financial institutions for higher risk client cohorts that they've been unwilling to lend to previously. We looking at third-party collateralization, where we can cover the costs of a third party coming in. Credit protection structures. These are examples of where we can provide grants that protect investor capital. A second area of work would be grants that underwrite returns, where we can protect or provide investor returns. For example, if an investor has a minimum hurdle rate in terms of its investment requirement into a financial institution, we can actually provide an interest rate or IRR top-up to actually make that deal work. And this has happened in a number of cases. Looking at other models like social impact bonds, where we, again, underwrite the returns based on social performance. And then a third area of where we see catalytic grants having a huge impact is grants that increase investee clients' efficiency in getting or deploying capital to enterprises. And particularly, as mentioned, this is very powerful when it comes to riskier client segments, such as startups or youth. And again, examples of this would be linking financial institutions to crowdfunding platforms. It would be helping financial institutions develop new products that target riskier client segments, but through the product development process, staff training, risk management, we allow them to enter new client segments at lower risk. Looking at other tools as well, for example, alternative credit scoring approaches, using, for example, psychometrics or aptitude testing to de-risk what have traditionally been seen as high-risk clientele. And then moving into areas of using proxy data again, to look at alternative credit scoring. So, mobile money and the work that people like Signify are doing are using mobile money repayment as proxy credit history. Social media, Lendu is using this in a number of markets. And all these that basically reduce the cost and the risk of financial institutions when it comes to financing entrepreneurs that historically they've seen as too risky. Their heart is saying, yes, we want to finance youth startups, but their head is saying no. And that's our objective is to try and change that dynamic.
So basically, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're giving the grants or your financial assistance to the enterprises, but at the same time, you're strengthening the financial sector for them to be able after to go for risky sectors by introducing new forms of guarantee, new collaterals, new products, and better adapted techniques.
Absolutely, because otherwise we're not going to get the scale. Okay. Therefore, we do not do direct financing to enterprise. It's always through financial intermediaries. And if those financial intermediaries are capacity built and strengthened, as well as being provided with access to capital, either by ourselves or through third parties, then they have both the capacity and the resources to meet the problem head on. And from our market research work that started our portfolio in Somalia, we know there's 3% penetration of formal financial services. So that translates into billions of dollars of unmet need from entrepreneurs for formal financing. So there's massive need out there, there's massive resources that's required, but structuring the right relationship that can bring that investment in a way that's sustainable is key.
Let me add that a little bit too, because we've done a little bit of work with Silitech on this project with Kaba, the Small Youth Enterprise Fund. So we've tried to size up the matter by doing some direct lending and trying to build a portfolio to basically highlight what can be done through a Shuraako approach, which is being a neutral broker. And basically trying to make the case that, yes, there is sustainable investment there. And in fact, you can show that it is there, because our belief is trying to invite in all forms of capital. So it's catalytic in a little bit of a different way. But what's really nice about these kinds of approaches coming from philanthropy is there's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know if that's a good thing to say in this context. But anyway, there's a lot of approaches to go about it. And so we like the partnership and see it unlocking a lot more capital, which we hope it does even at this forum.
Okay. What are generally the size and the terms of your assistance, financial assistance to the enterprises?
What we've been looking at typically is anything from a range of around
Structure and staffing of the money transfer companies. So this is the second model, build on the existing infrastructure. And then the third model is greenfielding new financial institutions that are commercially orientated and sustainable. So for any entrepreneur in the market, the face of our work is not Silitech, it's our partner financial institution on the ground. We're somewhat like the Intel inside in terms of the technical assistance, the financial support, but the brand on the street would be the financial institution.
I know we need to move on real quick. So what I'll say is, for Shuraako, it's basically, it has to be a merit-based business. If we're going to represent it to any kind of an investor, it's not an appeal to their emotions, it's an appeal to a return. And so you have to be able to show your business premise, you have to be able to prove it, you have to be able to articulate it, and that's sometimes the barrier for a lot of businesses that are informal, trying to formalize it. And so what we do is work with the business to get it to that point.
Okay, thank you. So we don't have anyone for the private equity and venture capital, so we'll go directly to some questions on the diaspora investors. What are the primary or the prime considerations for diaspora investors to invest in a project in Somalia? What is he looking first when looking at a project?
Thank you very much. The Somali diaspora investors are looking is just anywhere else where other investors look. The risk, returns, and how long that will take, how long it takes their returns. But one of the fascinating things that we did is that we did a focus group in Somalia about 6 months ago. And usually the Somali diaspora, the main driving force is not the bottom line, it's the social status. What I mean by that is a lot of Somali diaspora, when we ask a lot of surveys, they told us that the first question is that they're being asked is that what are you brought back? What did you bring back to Somalia? Money, investment, education. So that social status really drives a lot of the Somali diaspora investment coming back. It's not about the bottom line, which is how much money will I make. It's actually more emotional and sentimental and trying to help the country rebuild. So a lot of times, even though they look at it, the bottom line, but it's more than that. It is.
We've heard also that, and we had also some focus groups during a mission, we've heard also that the confidence, the trust, the relationship between diaspora investors and the entrepreneurs are also a key factor for the diaspora investors to invest in a project.
Yeah, I mean, the trust is everything in Somalia. There's no contract. It's basically, it's a handshake. And that usually works 90% of the time. And so diaspora investors coming back from overseas, usually they go invest where they're comfortable with. If they're from Hargeisa, that's where they're comfortable with, that's where they put their money in. If they're from Mogadishu, that's where they invest. So the trust is everything because we have a system of we deal our own problem custom way, Somali way, where so everybody then is more comfortable investing where they feel most, safe, and also their investment is safe. But I really wanted to get into mainly why we are all here, which is mainly how do we get a funding or money to our businesses, either to start up or to grow. And I just wanted to give some insight about, because I've been on the other side many years and I still raise some money for businesses, is that a lot of entrepreneurship, they must know what stage they are in their business. Let me go through just the 6 stages of venture capitalism. A lot of, when Lee was talking about earlier, he always starts startup. usually there's one step before a startup, which is called seed money, or other countries they're called angel investing. What that is, where the investment starts is actually the seed money. When you have an idea, so it's seed money, startup, first round, second round, expansion, and exit. So that is actually the 6 steps for anybody who is sitting here who are thinking to invest. That's exactly what they are looking at. I'm not talking about not only NGOs, but I'm talking about the banks, hedge funds, commercial banks. They really want to know where in that 6 stages are you. So let me just briefly talk about the last one, which is the exit strategy. A lot of the venture capitalists or hedge funds, they're really not interested in to be your partner for a long time. They really do not want to own your own business. They just wanted to make money, invest, and get out of it, whether it's 3 years or 5 years. So most important things that I found out about a lot of people who are looking for investment is that they really don't figure it out, how do you exit? If I put 100,000 in your business, how long it will take for me to get that money plus profit? So until you figure it out exactly, that question, it's very difficult to get investment. So because a lot of the Western world, a lot of the venture capitalists and the banks, the way they exit is what they call IPO, initial public offering. They put a lot of money for this company until they take to the stock market. That's how they exit. That's, Google, Facebook, billions of dollars people made, venture capitalists who invested early in with those companies. In Somalia, there's no active trading platform. Therefore, you have to come up with your own exit strategy where it satisfies a lot of the investors, a lot of people who are interested in to invest in your company. You have to come up an exit strategy and say that this is how long I need the money, and this is how long I'll pay back with the profit. So to go back to the seed money, a lot of times you will never find a seed money. What seed money consists of is 4 things: product development, market research, building a management team, and a business plan. All those things is very rarely you will find people who are willing to put a seed money for that early stage. So, and one of the major obstacle about a lot of Somali entrepreneurship is that evaluation. Somebody will tell you their business is worth 200,000 and they need 100,000. The problem is that nobody can prove their business is worth 200,000. It is, but somehow it's not being calculated the right way. One of the most important things about early stage of seed capital is your time. And a lot of us, we need to improve how we calculate the investment we make, which is mainly our time. You have an idea, you're working for 2 years, you never pay salary to yourself. And somebody will come 2 years later and just wanted to count how many chairs and tables you have to evaluate your company. Because the evaluation of your time, you did not write it down or give even a salary to yourself. Therefore, it's cheating. So that's what I just wanted to add. And a lot of the diaspora who's coming back, more they invest in emotion and sentimental. They really don't care about, for the non-profit making. They just want to make a difference. But there's more hedge funds, venture capitalists who are coming, who are really looking at these things. And it's very important to understand where they're coming from.
Same question as for the philanthropic. Same question as for the philanthropic capital. How local entrepreneurs can liaise with the diaspora members if they don't have any relationship, if they don't have someone from the family or someone from the clan or someone from the village being outside? How can they develop this relationship with diaspora investors? Through which channel? Through which financial instruments and institutions can they get into contact with the diaspora?
This kind of forms is very helpful. What Shuraako is doing, what Bit Network now is doing, what all these organizations are doing, bringing the diaspora together with the locals. That's very helpful. But Somalis really network themselves. They really know somebody who has money or who can help them. So the best way of networking is, once you have a desire to do business, you will find people who can help you. Whether that is your family, which it starts with, your friends, then your friends might teach you other friends, we raise a lot of money. Just for the last 2 months, we raised $1 million. People we don't even know, because we had an idea to put a fiber optic in Mogadishu, and we just went out and we want to call everybody we know, and we'll be able to raise. So people will give you direction, say that, hey, that person has some money saved up, call him. So then you call, and then another person will lead you another person. So it's determination.
Okay. And what are the preferred channels for the diaspora investors to invest in a project? Will they go directly? Would they go on a one-to-one basis with a project? Would they gather with other diaspora investors to finance the whole project? Would they go through banks? Would they go through investment fund? Or all of these situations are possible?
All is possible, but the characteristics of Somalis that they want to be their own boss. They really don't like to work any other person. So they try first their own way. Then if they cannot find that, then they look for somebody to help them, whether it's a family member or friends. That's the second choice. But the first choice is everybody, in my experience, wanted to be their own boss and create their own things. And if that doesn't happen, then the second choice is to find people who are same-minded and get funding. If that doesn't happen, they go lateral, institutional, NGOs, banks, whoever can listen to them.
And do diaspora investors, do they need financial incentives or non-financial incentives to go for an investment? For example, associating an investment from the diaspora members with some grants given by a project, or risk mitigation measures like a guarantee fund or some guarantee mechanism that would reduce the risk for the diaspora investors.
Those things did not exist before. They just coming in. What this investor is talking about, it's new to me, that they are giving guaranteed. I did not know that. So a lot of institutional help, whether it's a government or whether it's NGO, whether it's World Bank, IMF, it is just beginning. And before, what used to happen is that they used to raise money their own, and without any guaranteed, without any insurance, and they just take the whole risk. And if everything goes south, then they start all over again, and rebuild. So there is, Somalis has resilient when it came to business. You can see, if you go to Mogadishu right now, all that booming happening, I was there 5 years ago. Those buildings never existed, and they were destroyed. Now they are being rebuilt. Not the first time, probably the third or fourth time. So losing is where other people really, the finance 101 is the risk. If the risk is more than 50%, you don't invest. So that's where they teach you in school. But Somali risk is 90% and they still invest. So that tells you it's not about, it's not about just profit and loss. In my case, I think Sherry said before this morning, you don't come Somali to make money. That's true, really. There's bigger than that was driving you. It's, to help the country, to create some employment. So a lot of those things are more valuable to Somali than just basic profit and loss.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now with Mr. Yusuf from the banks in Tenement.
And IBS, we have, I think everybody knows IBS, no need to talk about IBS now. In IBS, we have different products for different customers. And that depends on the stage of your business, where you are at. If you are starting a business, if you already started and you are doing well. So, for example, the least one is the microfinance. The least one is the microfinance. So, there's some of our capital which we don't get any profit. People who are looking like to set up a stall, small shop, a stall, it will not cost them $500. We give them for free sometimes. So in microfinance program, you have to graduate the program. It's not a program that you're going to be there, but within 2 years' time or 1 year time, you have to graduate that program and then go to, we know, the SME, the smallest S. That S is different stage for us. There are 3 types of S. Then when you reach the smallest S, you qualify a loan from the bank or equity finance. So depending on your stage, we look and assess your business plan, and based on that, we give you or grant you the capital you need. But everything is, since our bank is based on international standards, we don't go what Liban has just said, 90% risk, and we just go, no, we don't do that. We have to be very prudent. We have to check everything you bring to us, and in the meantime, we will be doing a research, because in IBS we have a research team, and then we do evaluation. Our own evaluation team will do it, and we'll assess if you bring a product or a land or collateral, you say these are 200,000 worth, we will not accept that. We have to go our own evaluation and collateral. If you satisfy all the conditions, then which is the background check, the business plan, there are only 3 conditions required from you, which is you have to bring a portion of the money that you are looking for. If you are looking for 100,000, you have to bring 20, 30, 40, 50. The more you bring, the more we're going to be lenient to you. The other part, the second one is the monthly payment plan. You should be able to pay that in a monthly, whatever the period we agreed. Depends on the facility that has been given to you, whether it is, there's a grace period. Some people that are able to pay one time only, annual, or twice a year, semi-annual, or quarterly. So it depends on your ability, your company, and your account transactions you have with us. Because you were dealing with IBS before you get this grant or this loan, we will assess from that, so you should be able to pay the monthly payment. And the third one is the collateral. So we are asking the people not to use their cash, because in Somalia, it's the only country we use cash financing. We ask them to put your cash in the bank as a term deposit or some saving. You will get return a profit from that cash, and then you can use that cash as collateral. Whatever financing you are looking, we can grant you. Then you can pay in installments slowly. In this way, your business has a capital and has something. If there's an emergency happens, you go. There's a place you go back. So we have different ranges of products, and that depends on the stage you are. And when we make an assessment, then that's when we let you know this is you qualify this category or you qualify this category.
Do you provide services, non-financial services to the entrepreneurs?
Yeah, we have advisory facilities and advisory center. We advise. Some of them pay fees, some of them pay nothing. So, but we give you advice. When you present your business plan, it's yours. Then we'll tell you you need to tune up in this way or that way. We give you an advice. So in this way, we say you need the technical advice or this advice. Basically, for us, in any entrepreneur, when they bring a business plan, they should have some relationship with this. You have a school, you have graduate education. You already had, you were a teacher. You were doing teaching. You know how to teach. You are doing a solar energy company, you should be an electrician or somehow related to that field, renewable energy. You are working with a fish or fishing, you should have some kind of experience for that. We don't allow a business plan where you want to do a hotel industry, but you never deal with hospitality industry. Or you want to have an electricity company, but you came from a different background. So the business you are in and what you are doing, your passion, they should match. So Otherwise, the person who is running, it's not a condition you have to have that, but the person who's running the business, they should have capability and the capacity and the knowledge to run this business. So a hotel business, the hotel manager should have came from a hotel background, somewhere in that.
I have a few set of questions for all of you, because you're all operating in Somalia. And Somalia is not known for its best conducive environment in terms of finance, in terms of law enforcement, in terms of risk. So how do you mitigate the risk? How do you mitigate the problems and the constraints linked with the non-conducive environment for business?
What we do is, for example, we have a risk management department, and then we have a credit risk. We have ratings, and we do the background checkups. So what we have to do is, because this is the money we get from the people, the investors, the people who deposit the money, we are giving you this money to make a business. So what we do is we make a risk analysis, and based on that risk analysis, we come up a collateral which is more than the investment we are going to give it to you. If we are giving to you 100,000, we have to have a collateral of 150,000. And then yearly, we make evaluation, or 6 months. If there's a reduction in the collateral, you have to come up with, again, more collateral. So in this way, we can safeguard the business.
Want to say something? I really want to reinforce what my brother said. It's not like I'm in the business of banking, but it is very, very, very important to have a bank account if you are a business owner. Every money you spend, get it through that account. Because at the end of the day, when you are being evaluated, it's very hard to convince people you spend all of these years in this business and you cannot prove you've done that. So it's very, very important to have a bank account if you're thinking about business. The ticket you buy, the telephone you pay, everything you spend, get it through that account. And tomorrow, if somebody wants to come and be partner with you, just show that bank account how much you spend it over the 2 years. Because the biggest problem, which a lot of Somali investors, we invest, but a lot of times we bring other investors to invest, is that talk is cheap. You can't just say, I spend this much money in business, and you cannot show. So I wanted to just emphasize this. It's very important to really now do, I know there have not been a banks in Somalia, but we need to move informal to formal if we wanted to get credit. Credit is just history. You know, what you have done to determine what you're going to do. So you have to have a record to show you have been depositing, spending, anything. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
Okay, I'll echo what my brother said as well. For Shuraako, what we do is, as Liban is saying and Hassan is saying, it is very important to show some kind of a flow of cash and show where expenditures and deposits are coming from. When we evaluate businesses, what we're trying to do is show that a business is bankable. And so a lot of times we're working with businesses that have not kept accounts, and so we help them formalize because we're banking on them as a concept and we're helping them shape up to get to a place of getting to these guys. So we're playing a place in a continuum, and we feel like that's part of our role. But we do a complete evaluation as well. We go through a very thorough due diligence process. Of the businesses we've funded, we have about a 7% approval rate. So only 7%. So it's a pretty stringent process. Now that doesn't mean a business won't get funded through Shuraako, it just means they haven't yet. It means they need to keep working their process. And part of what we do is, while we don't capacity build them to say, this is what you need to do to make your plan get funded, we say that's not fundable because I couldn't represent it to an investor for this reason. And so we try and give them feedback on that. And that's part of the service we think we're providing. So for us, to diaspora investors, what we're saying is, we can be part of the eyes and ears on the ground. And then there's also the Somali way, which is going to vet it in other variety of ways. But what we're doing is putting it through a whole series of due diligence processes to actually create, and for those of you that are in the pitch ring, you know what you had to put together to come to the forum. Well, in a similar way, you go through that when you're going through the regular Shuraako process, only much deeper, because we're getting all the way to a prospectus. So, you know, and all of our instruments are fully collateralized, and we register them. We don't do anything more than 70%, so at least 30% in from the entrepreneur. So.
From our perspective, in terms of risk management, it's slightly different because our clients are financial institutions rather than enterprises. But the same applies. I mean, it's due diligence, effective partner selection. And I think also, maybe just injecting a bit of reality, I mean, ultimately, we're working in multiple fragile and conflict-affected states. Iraq, Yemen, Libya, even some connections in Syria today. Life goes on. You know, the laws of supply and demand exist. People need to put food on the table. Entrepreneurs need to survive. So there's markets to exist, and it's about working with financial institutions that even in a scenario of instability and uncertainty, see a market opportunity. So then partner selection becomes really critical. Who wants to work in this space? Who's credible? Who's having impact, regardless of what the political security environment is?
Do you see, I mean, the success of a business is not only the success of getting and accessing funds, but it's also the skills of the entrepreneur. And when you start a business, I'm not talking about existing businesses, but when you start a business, it's extremely difficult to evaluate the skills and the probability of the success with this entrepreneur. So how can we mitigate the risk, especially when we are talking about diaspora investors or philanthropic capital that are outside of the country? How best can we reinsure the investors with the capacity of the entrepreneurs to effectively go for what he's pretending to do in the business plan? We know that the business plan, I mean, I can buy a business plan tomorrow and look like a very good entrepreneur, but in reality have no skills to do that.
I'll tell you one thing. If we ever evaluate a poultry farm, we go there and there's no chickens, we know it's not really, you know, working. So we've seen that before, where you get the same business plan that comes in time and time again. And that's unfortunate, because you have to go back to the entrepreneur and say, you know, yeah, we're going to check it out. We're going to come out and see it. You're going to take us through the process and all that. So we do a very thorough, on-the-ground due diligence process and actually meet and work with them.
And when it's a startup?
What is a startup?
When it's a startup.
Oh, whenever. So they have to have some kind of a transferable skill. They have to have some kind of a history they can show us that would convince an investor, yeah, I'll put my money on you.
Do you believe in I would say, business skills mentors or
Sure.
angels, business angels that could provide technical assistance, I mean,
Sure.
really technical assistance to promoters, to reinsure also the diaspora investors and reinsure the banks when they are lending to those investors?
We do, absolutely. You know, we take that into account as a piece of the sales pitch. You can say they have this kind of mentorship. I've seen cases where that's worked quite well, and I've seen cases where it was used to basically sell someone on I had a mentor and didn't really work very well at all. So it really depends on how integrated they are. You ask questions, you learn basically the story of the business and actually live with it for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, our experience when it comes to risk mitigation at the client level is absolutely access to finance is only one component of an overall package of interventions, and non-financial services are essential. The way that we've been addressing this is where financial institutions have the interest and the capacity, we are building their capability to offer in-house non-financial services in parallel with financial services. But in many cases, there's little interest to do that because it's taking away from the core capability of providing financial services. In that case, some financial institutions we're working with, they spin off separate foundations, and I think Doses of Hope and CABA is a good example of that. So the separate foundation does the training, the business development, and in effect creates the pipeline for then the financial institution to finance. And in other cases where the financial institution wants to completely separate its financial services, we link them to partners in the ecosystem who are doing business development and training. That could be NGOs, in some cases it could be government programs, it could be private training institutions. And plug the cables, because an exit strategy of a training institution surely is how many young people, how many startups did you actually then link to sustainable finance? An exit strategy for a financial institution, if somebody says, I'm going to do all the hard work, screen, train, motivate, and prepare, and bring to your front of office, you know, a whole bunch of great entrepreneurs, that's also a great entry strategy. So looking at those linkages. And then one other aspect, I touched on it earlier, which we think has the potential, a game-changing potential, is actually working with financial institutions to do climate assessments, using some of this new innovative work being done around psychometric assessments, evaluations of entrepreneurial capability. It's not the silver bullet, and it should be part of a package of risk mitigation tools, but we're seeing a lot of potential around using assessments and psychometrics to identify high potential clients out of, you know, the mass of applicants that you get for financing.
What I would like to add to is that if you focus only on the risk, then you will be blindfolded. I mean, of course, you know, if I take an example, Kaba's repayment rate would not have been 98% if there are no things in place. But we don't focus on the risk. Yeah, we focus on the business and the growth and the success of the business. Yeah, and that's another way of looking at it.
Yeah, I just want to add, helping and investing are two different concepts. I can help you with money. In a bank, we might have free loan. We call it and I can help you. But I'm not expecting you to default that loan. But investing is different. And in order to make a risk management or risk mitigation, you cannot make a risk mitigation in informal system. If you have a real risk mitigation, you have to have a formal system. So we need to move from informal, as Livan said, to formal. And the investment of diaspora can come, and I'm not looking, I'm investing because this is my city or this, I know this person. Then I will look the return, I will look the business plan, I will look the transparency and the information I'm getting, the monthly update or the quarterly update or the annual AGM meetings I come, I get the information, financial information, something like that I'm investing, I don't know the person. Now Somalis are investing in stock markets. Do they know the companies? No. What's the reason they are investing? Same thing they can invest in Somalia, but there's one condition. We need to move from informal to formal, means you have to have proper hierarchy, proper structure, governance, you have to produce reports, and then your company will look like that. For example, there are some companies who approach us who want to have partnership with Somali companies. So, but when we look your company, or some of the companies we look, they couldn't even produce one single governance report. So the question is, we need to formalize the way we do the business. We need to formalize the way we engage the business. Then we can have real risk management or risk mitigation. But helping and to stand up on your feet, and then as a business, do you qualify a loan from the bank, a debt or equity? That's a different story. There's a different rules of engagement.
Pedro, I haven't forgotten you.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I want to talk about the risk you mentioned about skill risk. You know, this is a fact. It's not about Somali or African. It's just a fact. The brilliant entrepreneurs don't always make the best business executives. And it's a fact anywhere around the world. So the good news about is right now is the businesses in Somalia right now is still the first or second stage, seed money or startup capital. So when the skill requirement comes, is actually later stages when the company expanding and reinventing. So one of the things that we really have to understand is, you know, the reason why everybody who's sitting here, we are entrepreneurs. And there are some people who are now working 8 to 5. The difference is those people don't like to take risk. A lot of the difference between entrepreneurs and regular people is the level of risky taking. But there are some people who work 8 to 5 who are brilliantly managers. And sometimes you need to bring in with them when you have ability to promise them a salary and say that, listen, I brought this business up to this point, and now I need somebody else who now just comes run day to day. Because a lot of skills that is needed when you are developing the business is really becomes a disaster when the business grows. So you have to know when to say, my time is up. I've done everything I can. Now I need somebody who's not a risk taker, but he can come here and run these things, and I can give him a good salary. And this is what we always fight. There's about 8 companies we produce right now, and always the fighting is when the investors relinquish the power of the company and say that we've done our job, let's let somebody else run the company. And that is a risk, but usually that risk, it comes when the company can afford to pay very good salary, some very talented people. And
Pedro, representing IFAD. Can you tell us a little bit about the role of IFAD in linking the diaspora and the development in rural areas?
Yes, thank you. The beautiful thing is a lot of my questions actually have been answered. So no, this is fascinating panel. And if I can, because you just asked me about diaspora investment in agriculture, if I can in 1 minute give you the big picture, because I think there's some linkages that are important here. The International Fund for Agricultural Development, as the name indicates, we work in agriculture, but our main mandate, it's rural poverty, investing in rural areas. So everything that happens in rural areas in developing countries, we consider that our business, and we try to see how to improve that. Over the years, we realized that there's this phenomenon that involves migrants and their ties back home that has a huge impact on rural areas. The entire planet has heard about remittances, you know, this 500 billion that the migrants send back home. In the case of Somalia, it's 1 plus 2 billion and still to be debated. But we know it's a lot of money. That's one in one hand. And in the other hand, we know that this diaspora abroad, that if put together in a country, would probably be in the G8, considered as a G8 country. These people have accumulated 500 billion in disposable assets. This is money that can be invested. This is a reality for all the diasporas around the world. There's some differences among one or some, maybe on the risk. Some take 90% risk, some 70 or 50, but they all care extremely about their communities back home. They all want to invest. They all share the same type of linkages, and there's a lot that one can learn with one another. So we focus on these 2 things. On the remittances, can you put some of that remittances that you get to save it, to invest it individually? It's one of the main things that we do. The other is on the diaspora that is abroad that has not sent that in terms of remittances. Can you have that invested? Do you have opportunities? Do you have a conducive environment to invest? And so this is the second area of the things that we do. So there's a supply and demand, and we've seen it, and we're engaged actively in many countries through this diaspora investment in agriculture program that is basically trying to link this supply and demand. Now, we know that's a very hard work to try to do that in many circumstances. How can you support that? How you can create a more conducive and enabling environment to make a diaspora investor just an investor investing in one country? The more you facilitate that, I think the closer we are to that goal of maximizing the impact, this huge impact, that diasporas have in their own communities. So this is overall the program. But I can tell you a little bit in 2 words about the challenges that this represents.
That was my next question.
Well, then I was afraid you were going to cut me off because I see a yellow panel on minutes and so on, and I know we're late. Our development organization and promoting the private sector, might seem weird. We all talk about public-private partnerships. We actually talk about public-private and people partnership. So to include the civil society in there, the diasporas. But our modus operandi would be to have something that is pro-poor and pro-profit. And some might think this is a contradiction in terms. Well, it's not. That's our strong belief in that. You can have something having a great impact in poor regions and still make a buck out of it. This is what we know could actually promote this, the bringing of scale of these opportunities. That represents a lot of challenges. This is true. In the long run, you need to identify this mechanism that can allow you to do this in that way, how to work through these partnerships with the public sector, with the private sector. What can you facilitate? And this is basically the type of programs that we're doing. In the next session, I think we'll go more into detail about the specific initiative that IFAD is supporting with several actors in Somalia, and I'll elaborate a little bit about that, and also other models that can be, once again, maybe inspiration. Because you mentioned it, what I've been hearing here is two things. One is, Somalia is unique. All the diasporas are unique. They all care about the same things, but they're all unique. Point taken. It's the risk issues, as it was mentioned, is critical, but the tendency that here is there's a lot of other opportunities. So Somalis, investors, and Somali entrepreneurs have a lot of opportunities ahead. What can we do in order to get that, to unfold these opportunities? And that, I think, is a very promising message. Thank you.
Can I add on that? I can't get this in. Okay. I guess when you make it red, it's on. If it's okay. We're very excited about supporting these initiatives at Shuraako and trying to understand the attitudes, understandings, and mechanisms, vehicles that can help capture some of the remittance back into investment. So we're going to be looking into all of you to engage you to understand that, because we think there is a lot of capital out there that can be unlocked. And so I don't mean to wrap up the session. I know we got to keep rolling. But anyway, we're going to be coming back to this group and other diaspora groups to try and understand this more and more. So when you see us knocking on your door again, understand exactly what the spirit this is in.
Yeah.
So just to build on the hello? Yeah. Just to build on size is one of the models that we're working with are with the remittance companies here in Somalia. So that money flow is going through a limited number of companies at significant scale. Those financial services companies, including Car Express we're working with, Microdab, for example, they have the opportunity at the customer end to then innovate and saying, well, we're not just providing remittances, we could do a lot more. We could open savings accounts, we could offer credit, we could offer insurance. The infrastructure is already in place, the staff are in place, and it's a tweaking of the business model, and then the remittance companies can actually serve a much broader set of financial services than they currently are. And there's opportunities to take that to another level by saying, well, if the fund flow is already coming in through the remittance companies, how could that fund be structured or repurposed as an investment fund? And then other work we're also doing is that we're shortly to launch a crowdfunding platform for the region. And it's a crowdfunding platform for microfinance. It's a donor platform. It's a charitable platform. But it's an opportunity to look at Islamic charitable giving as a potential for investment into enterprise. So Sadaqah can be used, for example, to support low-income entrepreneurs. And that speaks to the point about not all investors want financial returns, they want social returns. And the huge fund flows in terms of Islamic charitable giving can be repurposed through crowdfunding to support entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for all the panelists. What I keep in mind is that there are, of course, a lot of opportunities to invest in Somalia. There's a lot of potential of micro enterprises. There's also a lot of potential coming from the diaspora to invest either as a sleeping partner or as a potential co-financier, or even to think of something for its future. to develop a company or to develop an enterprise for its own future when they will migrate from the country they are residing for the moment and coming back in Somalia. The overall environment in Somalia is moving day to day, is improving day to day. We have more and more financial instruments, financial institutions. We are getting closer to what we know in the Western world. We are talking about risk guarantee funds. We are talking about risk mitigation. We are talking about different instruments that are that will in the future facilitating the linkage between entrepreneurs and diaspora members. In terms of sustainability, we have also now the banks, the commercial banks that are investing. There's a graduation process coming from the microfinance institutions, starting with 150 clients, now 14,000, which is extremely impressive. And so the market is building itself, and forum like today organized by Shuraako, forum like today and some other forums will also benefit for all the stakeholders within this financial sector to really develop the appropriate financial instruments, vehicles and channels to develop the small and micro enterprises, small, micro and medium enterprises in Somalia. Thank you very much.